know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days. The first day seemed like a week, and the second day seemed like 5 days, and the third day seemed like a week again, and the fourth day seemed like 8 days. But the fifth day, you went to see your mother, and that seemed just like a day. But then you came back, and then later, on the sixth day in the evening when we saw each other, that started seeming like 2 days. So in the evening it seemed like 2 days spilling over into the next day, and that started seeming like 4 days. So at the end of the sixth day, on into the seventh day, it seemed like a total of 5 days. And the sixth day seemed like a week and a half. I have it written down, but I can show it to you tomorrow if you want to see it.
TBTL.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
It's Friday. Gonna get down on Friday.
Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
Good evening and welcome to the pre-taped call-in show where we tape all our shows a week in advance. I'm your host, Ken Doral, and let's try it again. It's really not that hard, okay? Our topic, once again, is the elderly. Okay, we're taping it now, and it airs next week, okay? So, if you're watching me talk about the elderly, don't call to talk about it, it's too late. Instead, call about cooking, which is next week's topic.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
This show really improves with age.
Why? Because the jokes get better?
No, because my hearing gets worse.
What the mother effing seeing effing Kang F is going on right now?
I get out of the shower and look in the mirror. I'm impressed because I look frickin' awesome.
A lot of people say I have a real cute laugh. It's like...
Oh, that's a great laugh.
We were up on Steve-O and Way, and all of a sudden we thought, run, he's got a gun, where's our mum, this ain't no fun. And our hearts started to pound faster than a kangaroo hopping through the bush. And our poor mum was stuck up in a tree, and mum was distracting him to make him look the other way. Kind of like the toilets here, they swirl the other direction, and he looked the other way, and mom ran into the bush behind the fence, and he goes, I'll find you, and I'll shoot you, and we went, oh no!
You're more beautiful than Cinderella. You smell like pine needles, and you have a face like sunshine.
Excuse me, who even are you?
I was asking myself that same question, and I did not like the answer.
Who saw that coming?
They're gonna throw the book at you, you know that? And you know what else? I'm gonna let them, because I have a lot of pull in this court system. Don't ask me how or why.
How and why?
A judge ran over my face when I was 6.
When do we get to sing It's Raining Men, Hallelujah, It's Raining Men?
I swear, every time this guy talks, all I hear is a turkey gobbling.
This is what happens when an inside joke gets into the water supply.
Look, man, you know your stuff, but you're like a crazy volcano. You have to show me you can bring it down a notch.
I'll bring it down 1,000 notches if I have to!
Let's get to the jokes.
Man, oh man, oh man. In this ever-divided world we find ourselves in, I think there's one thing we can all agree on. This has got to be one of the weirdest Fridays in history, right? Like, what is even going on with today? Well, we're going to lean into the weirdness here on a very special episode of TBTL. This is, of course, the podcast that's too beautiful to live.
You're hungry, you're confused, your face is streaked with dry tears, and you don't even remember when you started crying.
I don't know whose idea it was to put New Year's Eve on a Wednesday, but it has really thrown everything into chaos, seemingly. People are showing up to work in their pajamas today. My cat Bingo's already on his second Bloody Mary. I'm still wearing the special holiday DuckTales onesie that I've been wearing for 2 weeks now. the one with the flap on the back and the juice stains on the front.
I love juice!
But we are here, as you may be, at work today. By the way, I should say my name. My name is Andrew Walsh. Luke is out today. I don't know if you picked up on that, but Luke is out today. My name's Andrew Walsh. I'm doing the hosting. And we have a very special show for you today. And I'm not just saying that. We're doing something very, very different. And I'm very, very excited about it. As you know, we have a voicemail line here at TBTL. You can call it literally any time, day or night. Don't worry, you're not going to wake us up. It's a voicemail line. People do call, by the way, at all hours. People call to tell us stories, things inspired by stuff we've talked about on the show. People call in, they sing songs. One of the things I love about the voicemail line is a lot of times people call in, I think, just because they have a thought, something they want to share. I don't even think there's always an expectation that we're going to play it on the show. I think some people just like knowing that the voicemail line is there for them at any time. But a lot of them don't make the show. A lot of the voicemails don't end up on the air. Not for any particular reason. Sometimes it's just because Luke and I are chatterboxes and we talk too much and we get to the email segment and there's not enough time to play your voicemails. Sometimes it's just hard to figure out exactly where to fit them on the show, especially those fun voicemails where somebody just calls in sort of randomly with a random thought. But I have the privilege, as the man with the keys to the voicemail line, to listen to every voicemail that you guys leave. And I'll admit, sometimes they stack up a little bit. Sometimes I get behind on them. And so on New Year's Eve, a couple of nights ago, before I went out with Genevieve, which I did do, by the way. We had a wonderful New Year's Eve. I didn't just stay home like a hermit. But before we went out, I decided, you know what? It's the end of the year. I want to make sure that I listen to every single voicemail on the voicemail line. So I went through, and I feel like I have a special view into the TBTL listenership because I have access to all of these voicemails, a lot of which don't end up on the show. And so today I want to give you the feeling that I have when I get to just listen to one voicemail after another, after another, after another on the TBTL voicemail line, covering all kinds of topics. Some of these are longer voicemails, people telling stories. Some of them are shorter, just correcting us on something, if you could believe it, or just weighing in on a little factoid. Sometimes it's just a notion. Sometimes it's not even directly related to something that we've said on the show. But it's all really, really charming, and I love just hearing them one after another after another. So I wanted to give you that feeling today, too. So I have here a whole bunch of voicemails, like a whole bunch of voicemails, and they're all great. And I'm just going to play them for you, one after another after another. I'm going to kill my mic. I'm not going to say anything during them. I'm just going to let them roll, okay? And today, I guess, you remember that cheesy Time Magazine Person of the Year cover where instead of naming, I think I'm right about this. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, call the voicemail line, 206-414-8285. But I feel like one year Time Magazine made the Person of the Year you. And they put like a mirror or some sort of reflective cover on the front of the magazine. Well, I guess that's kind of what we're doing today with TBTL. You're the co-host today since Luke is out. And so as our co-bro, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you guys. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. And by the way, I'm not going to come back at the end of the show. I'm just handing it over to you. I'm giving you guys the rest of the show. So let me say right now, Happy New Year, sincerely. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's Eve. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend, because I think it's the weekend, although I'm still not exactly sure what day of the week it is. But Luke and I will both be here on Monday for a brand new, fresh episode of TBTL. I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you are too. And now, the gentleman from Washington State cedes the rest of his time to you, the tens of listeners.
Hi, business boys. This is Rachel from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. Not far from Cranberry, where I'm pretty sure they don't have cranberries growing. That's a side note. My reason of calling in is you guys were talking about wings, which has come up multiple times in the show, and I've thought about calling a few different times. But I wanted to share my thoughts about wings. I'm almost 40, but I would stay home and watch Wings, like, in 6th grade, I was allowed to stay home by myself and you're trying to find something when you're sick on the television, and I don't know, they had this programming, right, where it was like Wings and maybe a few other shows that were maybe a little bit too old for me, but were better than, anything else on the TV at like 2 or 1 in the afternoon. But I remember my feelings about Wings turning into like a real hatred. Just one episode where they had, I think her name was Helen, the main character, and she reveals she, went to elementary school with, what was his name? I don't know, Joe. And, they all have like little notes that they like wrote to themselves and things that they wished they did when they grew up. And hers was, I want to marry Joe. And it was like this sweet moment, right? But she opens up her letter to herself, and all of the words were like, misspelled. The like J was backwards. And I was in maybe 5th grade, 6th grade watching this, and I was fuming because I think they were supposed to be 3rd or 4th graders when they wrote this. And I was like, how dare they besmirch children of our age group? Like, that is not how we write. Our handwriting is better. We know how to spell the word marry correctly. Are you kidding me? And I turned the TV off and took an angry nap. I was so mad. Power out.
Hey, it's listener Joe from Atlanta. I was very inspired by the Disco Demolition talk and the Dime Beer Night talk to remember when Andrew was talking about little bats. One of my favorite moments, which is when we were kids, my mom was from South Philly. We grew up in, suburban Northern California and then in Atlanta, and there was a lot of debate between my father and mother about taking us for the first time to Veterans Stadium to see a Phillies game because of the level of just regular violence going on. But we went there, and it was Von Hayes bat night, and they were giving out the mini bats. And I think it was around like the 4th inning or something that everybody realized they were armed, and people just started beating each other, not even like in angry fights, but just kind of like there was a group of young guys in front of us, and they were just essentially hitting each other in the heads with them. In any case, it was the best thing my brother and I had ever seen. But in any case, I held on to the bats, and I somehow ended up with both of them. But later in life, when my brother passed away, my nephew was a certain age, and I took him to a baseball game. And afterwards, we came home, and I solemnly gave him my brother's miniature bat from Von Hayes night. I was all like, welling up and teary and handing it over him and describing just how important and formative this moment was for my brother and I. And, afterwards took him home. And when I came back, I said to my wife, like, I'm just so glad I was able to give him that miniature bat. I mean, I think it was really great. And she looked at me and she said, I don't mean this in too negative a way, but that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen you do. How could you possibly think that level of emotion about the violence of Von Hayes bat night could be warranted? And what do you think that like a 12-year-old kid could make of, such a thing possibly?
Hey, Luke and Andrew. This is Adam from Albuquerque. I just wanted to give my thoughts on a couple of the lists you have been doing lately. I know one of the top 5s was top 5 smells and then also top 5 walks. And this is related to both, actually. Somebody mentioned like taking a walk somewhere where you used to live and you haven't been there in a long time. I grew up in Juneau, Alaska, and I have only been back a couple times since I moved away in 97. The last time I was back, I took my family out. It was in 2013. We got there, it was a nice June evening. We checked into the hotel, and I decided to go for a walk. My wife was tired from the travel, and so I was just going to go for a walk. It was still light out because it's summer in Southeast Alaska, and at 10 o'clock, I'd forgotten how light it still is. But my oldest daughter, who was about 10 at the time, went with me, and walking around downtown, where I grew up, mostly when I was, especially middle school and high school, I was a downtown kid. And so, I knew all those streets and everything like the back of my hand. It was weird because everything that was different stood out so much, but then there was also so much similarity. But I remember walking along the dock, the cruise ship dock down there, and something just hit me all of a sudden, and it was the smell of creosote from the pylons and salt water, and probably a little diesel fuel from ships, but it was, I was 15 again. It was absolutely bizarre and emotional. That smell just brings me right back. Anyway, I don't really have a power out for this, but talk to you later. Bye.
This is Smell Talk, and you were talking about the smell of an iron, and it just brought back for me the smell of an iron melting wax, and I noticed this smell as people are having like their skis waxed. I don't even ski, but I was in a ski shop, and the smell, I was like, oh my God, I know that smell. And it took me back to preschool or maybe Sunday school when we would like shave crayons or use crayon shavings and put them between waxed paper to make like stained glass it was supposed to look like, and the teacher would iron it and melt the crayons between the waxed paper, and it's such a distinctive and wonderful smell. It's like a pipe smell to me. That's the other smell that I love because my grandpa smoked a pipe, and I love the pipe smell. I wish people would smoke some pipes more often. Yeah, you brought back that memory of that smell, so thanks. Power out.
Hi, I'm calling in with a TBCL coincidence. I'm currently on a road trip driving from Massachusetts to Montreal, so naturally I had stocked up on some TBCL episodes to kind of help me make my journey a little cozier, and strangely was called to get a kind of like crunchy gas station salad that I would say isn't really vegetables, but it's also lettuce, sort of. And I texted my friend to tell her how I couldn't believe how amazing this salad was. Actually, the language I used was not TBTL appropriate, but the point I was making was you would think this gas station salad would be disgusting, and it's actually rocking my world. And then I started my car and started driving and put my TBTL back on. I'm a few episodes behind because I stocked up for this trip, and Luke starts talking about the joy of a non-nutritious salad right as I finished my non-nutritious salad, and it was so good. Luke just read my mind, and that's it. I guess I would not categorize it as shame eating because although it is in the car, I'm not ashamed. I love my salad. I love my TBCL. I don't care if it's nutritious or not. Power out.
Hey, this is Cameron from Taos, New Mexico. There's a car that's about to pass me, so let me wait for them. Okay. Andrew's talking about wanting to find another cold summer salad recipe. My wife makes one that's quite good. You take cucumbers, put a little salt on them, let the water drain off for 10-15 minutes, and then you just dress them with soy sauce, rice vinegar, chili crisp or chili oil from the grocery store, sugar, sesame oil, sesame seeds, and some green onions. And it's really good, savory, spicy Asian salad. All right. Walking on from the farmer's market, that's why cars are passing me. Bye.
Hello, lovies. I just want to let you know, this is Maggie from the Middle Shelf. I want to let you know, I was listening to Chris Hayes, and he pronounces electricity also, just like our little Andrew Walsh. So what I'm thinking is maybe it's a back east thing? Question mark. Okay, well, power out.
Excuse me. Hey, fellas, it's Schaefer down at the front page in Austin, Texas. I'm calling because I just watched the end of what must objectively be one of the greatest football games in the history of the NFL. Luke must be electrified right now. He might have exploded maybe, or just spontaneously combusted. I don't know. Congratulations, boys. I'm so happy for you and for the Seahawks. Punchline for all of this, though, I had Sam Darnold on the bench in my fantasy team. All right.
Ahoy, hoy, this is listener Jamie in Mississippi. I have a story that I do not know how to feel about, although I think the right thing happened. We are moving. We are leaving the chicken drawer and moving to an even older house a few blocks away, and it was owned by kind of an eccentric man. He was a lawyer and then a GP, went back to med school, then a GP, and then was a dermatologist. And as he got older, he set up a little office inside his house. And when we bought the house, we were basically left with things that some amazing furniture. This house has only been owned by 4 families until us. And it was built in 1829. And then some other stuff was just kind of junk. But he left his office furniture. And it was a desk and a kind of file cabinet and another cabinet. We couldn't get it open. It was heavy and we didn't want it. So I have a friend that's been helping me move stuff. And so I asked her if she wanted it and she said yes. She was going to take it to her daughter's tattoo shop or whatever. But it didn't work. And so she took it to the Habitat thrift store and they said they just had too much furniture already. So she took it home and we'd tried to get the cabinet open, but we couldn't. So she just decides, well, if it's going to go to the trash anyway, she's just going to hammer on it and open it. And she opens it up and she finds $1,000 in cash wrapped up in a bundle that said the year 2000. And she kept it. And although part of me is like, oh, that 100% is the right thing. It wasn't my money. I didn't know it was there. But at the same time, I was so close to found money. And anyway, I would not have taken it from her, but I just have feelings and kind of the thrill of it. Knowing this belonged to someone who is long gone and, you know, it had been locked in there for 16 years before he died, so he kind of abandoned it, and then it was ours, and then it was somebody else's. So anyway, power out.
Hey guys, I've been having a rough morning, so I just thought I would cheer myself and hopefully you guys up with a joke. What did the salmon say when it ran into a wall? Damn! All right, power out, you guys. Hope you have a good day.
Hey, Luke and Andrew, it's listener Rich from Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I heard you talking about cranberry bogs, and it turns out my hometown happens to be Lakeville, Massachusetts. If you look at the back of your craisins or your cranberry product, you'll find that it is from Lakeville, Middleborough, Massachusetts, because they put the headquarters on the town line. Anyway, my first job was in a cranberry bog. They paid us 50 cents an hour to get the cranberries, plus they allowed us to skate on the feeder pond to the actual cranberry bog. So the way a bog works, really, really cool, is that the bushes grow in these kind of like large chessboard-shaped kind of fields called bogs, with the cranberry bushes in the middle. And then what ends up happening is a feeder pond will be opened in the fall, and the water will run from the feeder pond into the bog, flooding the bog. Cranberries that are ripe float, and cranberries that are not yet ripe do not come off the bush. And therefore, they flood the bog, and all the cranberries that are ready to be harvested rise to the top of the water, and then you scrape the top of the water. Now, when I was a kid, we used to use these like baskets to put them on these big conveyors, and then we would skate all winter long, because the feeder pond, when you're ice skating, is only like a half a foot deep when it's empty, because the water is covering all of the cranberry plants throughout the winter to keep them safe in the cold. And that way you could skate from first freeze till when you fell through the ice in the spring, and you'd never die because the water was only like a foot deep. And that was fantastic. Now they have these tractors that ride on the water to get the cranberries together. So that, like, all those commercials with those dudes and the waiters standing in the water is like old school cranberry. New school cranberry is literally a John Deere with floaty wheels that drives on the water. It's incredible. Anyway, power out.
Hi, this is Langley, and I have a joke. How did the Roman warrior feel after he ate his grandma? Gladiator. Bye.
Hi, Luke and Andrew. It's Nikki from Worcester, Ohio. The recent windstorm talk has been giving me flashbacks to my own windstorm saga. In January 2017, I was living in Colorado Springs, and we had this incredible windstorm 100-mile-per-hour winds. I was completely clueless that this was going to be happening. I was not paying any attention to the weather reports. I was living in a rental house with my husband, my dog Hambo, and my cats Milo and Lola. And husband's name is Nick. I guess I should name him if I named the pets. And Nick was out of town. I was, blissfully unaware of the weather situation. And I remember waking up out of nowhere at like 6 a.m. really suddenly. And that seemed weird to me because I was younger and I was not waking up randomly at night until my alarm clock went off. And I thought, man, the wind sounds really loud. What's going on? And then my doorbell rings. Now, normally, being by myself in the house, even in the middle of the day, I'm not answering the doorbell if it rings, but definitely not 6 a.m. But somehow I felt like I had to. And I get up and just these little pieces of information, like maybe I did see a weather report somewhere that is in the back of my head. I'm hearing the wind. I was woken up really suddenly. And as I open the door, it just kind of clicks in my head what's happening. And I look outside, and this huge tree that is in my front yard that is like Y-shaped, where it's like one trunk and then spreads off into two huge branches, and each of these, arms of the Y is big enough to be a normal-sized tree. One of the arms has completely fallen off, hit the back of my husband's car, which is parked on the street, denting the back and breaking the window. Portions of the tree has bounced into my car that is parked behind him, ruining the windshield and the sunroof, and then the rest of this tree is in the middle of the road, completely blocking all traffic. And it wasn't the police or the fire team that was at my front door. It was the local news. So now I know why people seem so silly sometimes on the local news, because I'm there in my pajamas with my retainer still in, being asked hard-hitting questions like, what do you think of all this wind? So I'm just like in shock. I have no idea what I said. I never want to see that old footage and know what happened. I got my dog out of there because the rest of the tree, we didn't know if it was going to fall over. The landlord came and took down the rest of the tree. So we basically lost 2 cars, barely got enough money back from insurance to get one halfway decent car after that. And I guess we were missing a tree in front of the house and had quite the stressful time. Anyway, so that's my windstorm story. Power out.
Hey guys, this is Ryan in Gallatin, Tennessee. I just have some thoughts about Luke's recent adventures in reducing his mug diversity. I have some personal experience with hanging out with some friends at Airbnbs, and it's actually really helpful when mugs are in all different designs and shapes and sizes. Like one's china, one's got a fish on it, one's got wine o'clock or whatever. It's helpful when everyone has a different looking mug because then you can keep track of your mug. So when you have company over, you might want to use the diverse mugs. And then when you're living your daily life, you might want the more uniform looking mugs just from a design perspective or whatever. But just had that thought because Luke was talking about having family over, and you might find that it's helpful to have different looking mugs. All right, have a good one.
Hi, this is Amanda. I'm a 10 out here in the foothills of Mount Rainier. And I was compelled to call you today because my husband's a drummer, and a couple of years ago I got him as a gift a drum stool from Sweetwater Sound. And I was so impressed with their customer service. They were so nice and helpful. I also have no idea what to do with a drum stool. So I called and asked them a question. They helped me out and I ordered it anyway. It was great. They called me back after we got it and asked me how I was doing with my drum stool. And I said, I think he's doing fine. I think he likes it. I was still impressed with that. But I just want to tell you that I'll be gosh darned if, I don't know, every 6 months or so, a person, not a text message, not an AI chatbot, not anything, a person calls me up from Sweetwater Sound to ask me if I need any more drum stools. Maybe I might need drumsticks or I don't know, a tom-tom. I don't know what drums are called, but they keep calling and they keep asking if I might need anything else. So good customer service. I don't really even have a hot take for you, except to say, you now have a new best friend in Sweetwater Sound and we share him. Power out.
This is just a quick note to let Luke know that the general term for 3D printing, the official term, is actually additive manufacturing in the world of engineering, which may make you feel a little bit better about the process. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Hey, friendos, listener Justin, up in Ferndale, Washington. I was listening to yesterday's episode where Luke and Andrew were talking about the Counting Crows and how Adam doesn't really sing the melody anymore. He kind of just does some jazz vocalizations over the top of the songs, and how frustrating Luke finds it. And you guys kind of brought up the Grateful Dead, and as a big Deadhead, I kind of was resisting calling in, but then had to call in. And yeah, Luke pretty much nailed it on the head. Even if you are like a jam band where the audience is expecting each version of the song to be different, there's certain parts of the song that need to remain the same, really so that the audience can have that connection with the song. Ever since Jerry Garcia died and the rhythm guitar player Bob Weir has taken over more of the lead vocal duties in the post Jerry Garcia Grateful Dead projects, he definitely takes some similar liberties as Adam, and changes around some of the phrasing and melody on the vocal line, so that right when you're about to belt out this big line that just means so much to you and it's such a crescendo, he kind of just makes you feel like, oh, well, I kind of screwed that up. And it's just him, I don't know, maybe wanting to have some control over the situation. I really don't understand it, but I got so frustrated that I don't even go see them live anymore, because it's just not the same thing. I'd rather go see a Grateful Dead cover band that can jam out and still fulfill the kind of needs of the audience when listening to certain songs. So you're totally not crazy, Luke. And yeah, it's such a weird thing when artists decide to do that. So yeah, power out. Bye.
Hey, gents. This is listener Jamie from Columbia, Maryland. And I wanted to weigh in with my thoughts on the best popcorn, because popcorn, along with beer, is one of my favorite things to consume. So for me, the number one kind of popcorn is the free popcorn you get in a dive bar. That's when, especially when you're young and you don't have a lot of money and you go there and you can have all the popcorn you can eat. It's basically dinner. And then you and your friends get together and drink pitcher after pitcher of foamy yellow beer and play music on the jukebox. To me, that's the number one popcorn experience. But I also wanted to say that the number one kind of popcorn, like the best tasting popcorn I ever had in my life, was the popcorn my grandma made. She made it in her cast iron skillet on the stove, and she would cook the popcorn in bacon grease, and then when it was all popped, she would melt an entire stick of butter over the whole thing. I mean, it wasn't exactly health food, but it was absolutely delicious. So thanks for all the popcorn and beer talk. I've been loving it. Power out.
Hey, it's Jake in Chicago with my top 5 segments that I miss, or at least segments that haven't been done in a while. First is an OLI. Who needs a movie? It's just a sound that has lived in my head for, 12, 15 years, something like that. Great drop. Number 5, guest producer Doug Schreckengoss. I love the chaos of it. I love the uncertainty of Doug Schreckengoss. And I just want to see more of that on TVTL. Number 4, shameless self-promotion, Drops of Stupider. I love doing that. It was so much fun. Number 3, speaking of drops, Drop Roulette. It's good every time. I could listen to an entire episode of TVTL that's just you all playing drops and laughing at the ones that play at random. Good shit. And then, of course, number 2, classic, Cooking with Sean Dottori. It doesn't get better, except for this number 1. What are you doing here? I think that's what it was called. Where you would just call people at random and ask what they were doing while listening to TVTL. That's a perfect TVTL segment. Power out.
This one's really special to me. These are my 5 ways
to listen to TBTL. Number 5 is listening to several episodes in a row because for whatever reason you have been off of listening for a few days or a week and you have all of these banked episodes. And I don't know if some listeners will connect with this. There's a feeling of when you have a bunch of episodes and you're listening to one of the episodes and you don't have that feeling of like looking at your phone and being like, oh, I only have 15 minutes left in this episode. It's like, oh, I have the next episode right after this. Number 4, for me, this is a pretty me-specific thing. On Fridays, listening to the Friday show after I'm all done with work, I've got all my responsibilities done, I'll be walking my dog and listening to the Friday episode. And there's something so relaxing about that. It's like I have the entire weekend in front of me and I'm doing this thing that I love, which is being outside with my dog, walking, enjoying nature, listening to my Cobros in my ears. There's something really, really gratifying and relaxing about that. Number 3, this one's kind of interesting. When you're on a long car ride with your spouse, who in my case is, I would classify her as more of an 11, and maybe you're just listening to music or whatnot, and I've had this happen with my wife where she's like, do you want to listen to some TBTL? And I've been waiting for that, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. Let's eat up some of this car ride. Let's listen to our Cobros. She maybe doesn't understand the context of everything, but it's like that to me almost feels triumphant because so much of me listening to the show is me listening by myself. And so for my wife to be in on the experience is really fun. Number 2, this is kind of a unique experience, listening to TBTL down the line as you're waiting to be a guest on the show. This is something that I have been very fortunate to be on the other side of often, which is you ring up, you call up the show, you're waiting to be on, and you get to hear the Cobros doing the show live, and you feel like you're the only audience member, and you're waiting to come on, and you get to listen. And there have been shows where I've listened to like an hour of the show down the line before being brought on to do my little segment. And there's something so fun about that. You feel like you're getting an inside listen on it. And that's a really kind of fun, unique experience. Number 1, this one should be obvious. The live show. If you're in the audience at a live show, that's the best of the best. There are so many fun experiences I can remember of being at TBTL live shows. And I think it really brings home how special it is, this show that we listen to, all of us listeners, the community we have with each other. It feels like you almost were a part of putting this show up on the stage. You know, it's like everyone almost worked a little bit to get the show on the stage there right in front of you. So those are my 5 ways to listen to TBTL. That is a lot of me talking.
My wife, Rebecca, is a longtime 10. I, as her husband, am her 11, as I am aware. She recently got a sticker that she placed on her water bottle. That's our son. And, you know, it says, cranky, bored, call the number, the cure for global loneliness. And so I was like, well, what happens when you call the number? And she said, call the number. And so I called the number. And now here we are. And just want to say, as an occasional listener of the podcast, thanks. You guys are great. I think you guys do good stuff in the world. So cheers and power out.
about